Happy Sunday, survivors. Welcome back for another jam-packed daily market update. You can imagine what it is we're going to be talking about in this one. I don't have all the answers that some of you may be looking for, but certainly on Friday we came out and said that this sell-off in the crypto space, although the markets more broadly were selling off due to what Trump was kind of posting, literally a social media post caused this in crypto, I believe that. But I think it's unveiled is an underlying problem with the kind of market structure for crypto. It's not normal for markets to do what crypto did on Friday evening in the space of under an hour. And what caused that? Okay, yes, there was external macro factors, but internally how the exchanges are working seems flawed. If you can have a sell-off in the markets, they hit a pocket of liquidity in regards to liquidations, and then you just get this cascade. And what caused crypto's volatility and the price action that we saw was liquidations and leverage getting unleveraged. It's kind of a crypto-specific issue that was kind of spurred on by the broader markets. And that really is the root cause of why the market sold off. I guess the bad thing there is, well, how can anybody take altcoin investing seriously moving forwards with any kind of large capital? Fund managers can't touch this stuff, I'm afraid. Yes, we're getting the ETFs approved. How many of them are going, certainly the big ones, going to be willing to promote their clients into something like what we've just seen on Friday? That's my real concern, is reputationally, the exchanges, the ones that have caused and induced this by promoting leverage, and the other influencers out there that promote leverage. We've never promoted leverage. In fact, we've said the exact opposite. We don't give financial advice here, but we do give one bit, and that is that you shouldn't trade leverage in crypto. The exchanges have literally tarnished the entire reputation of the cryptocurrency space, and it does beg bigger questions to be asked in regards to how can something like this happen? And we, of course, saw nearly $20 billion worth of liquidations on Friday evening. What seemed like it was going to be a normal Friday evening. Yes, there was macro things going on. We'll go sort of through all that in this daily market update. But what we should have had was a kind of, a pullback. Pullback can be brutal in the crypto space, but not what we saw. That was due to I'm gonna say this. I 100% blame the crypto exchanges for that. And first of all, for allowing that kind of leverage in the first place, but second of all, not having the kind of market-making structure that you would see in traditional markets. That's how something like this has been allowed to happen. And it's extremely damaging. This is set, you guys know how bullish I am on crypto. I'm all in crypto, still to this day. So you can imagine my Friday evening. But this has set the crypto space back from an investment point of view. In my, I've got two brothers in finance. They've both rang me over the weekend and saying, listen, Rupert, this is not good in terms of people looking into this as a serious investment. Big money cannot play in markets that on a random Friday evening sells off to the tune of 60% some altcoins in the space of less than half an hour. That can't happen. Where are we going to go moving forwards, I think is what many people want to ask. I will give my best take on that, but I wanted to sort of get that out the way of. Let's just go through the kind of lineage of things. So this is from CNBC. Market sell-off. Trump posts lop off $2 trillion from stocks in a single day. And of course, this was the Trump post. And this is how, by the way, impactful social media is. If your business is not on social media yet, and you might have some sort of resentment to going on TikTok and things like this, put that aside. You're resisting the internet right now. Anyway, social media, very impactful. It's a whole new business model and sort of certainly advertising model that has arrived. But this is really it. So it has just been learned that China has taken an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade in sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to, effective November the 1st, 2025, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exception, and was obviously a planned devised by them years ago. It was absolutely unheard of in international trade, and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations, based on the fact that China has this unprecedented position and speaking only for the United States of America and not the other nations who were similarly threatened starting November the 1st, 2025, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China, so on and so forth. We don't need to read this again. We've read it previously, but this really caused things. China has came out and defended rare earth export curbs as legitimate, hits back at US tariffs as President Xi meeting hangs in the balance. There's a bit of hypocrisy on both sides. There always is. This is bureaucracy at its finest. But this essentially caused a bit of a pullback in the traditional markets. The S&P, for example, closed down 2.7%. Crypto's a beta of that. We show you this all the time, and it still is. And altcoins are a beta of that. You know, they're a beta of Bitcoin, so they're like a 3x beta, 4x beta of the stock market. So when Bitcoin sold off, and Bitcoin didn't do too badly, it wasn't really despite... And I guess there's some bullish narratives to derive from this. Despite the pullback that we saw, Bitcoin actually held up, or the liquidations that we saw, Bitcoin held up remarkably well, in all honesty. The altcoins didn't. And I think that shows a very illiquid market. And that worries me because illiquid markets, big money can't play them. It needs to mature. And I think good and bad news is one, we're still very early. The bad news is... if you think about the fact that we're about to get ETF approvals, we're on the literal doorstep of that, you're going to see those flows massively hindered by essentially what crypto exchanges have induced. Crypto exchanges aren't all bad, but given what's just happened, I would say they are solely responsible for it. You could say the traders that were irresponsibly leveraged, perhaps, but what you've obviously got is basically no order books with a lot of these altcoins after a certain point. So there's obviously a very structured sort of, as the price moves up, you've got these blocks either side of the price that it can handle, and it just went through the downside block and then just went boom until they found basically a support. Richard Teng coming out and posting about similar things like this. So again, just to really put things into perspective, this is from CZ. The you-know-what cannot be mentioned still, apparently. March 2020 crash was $1.2 billion in liquidations. The FTX crash was 1.6. Today, we saw nearly 20 billion in liquidations. That's crazy. This is from Coin Bureau. Just in, analysts warn the true size of the largest crypto liquidation could be up to 400 billion. CoinGlass says Binance's API throttling only reflects 5% of the liquidations during the crash. Wow. And we know that there was 20 billion. So 5% does take you to 400 billion. If that's true, that's 20x larger than the 19 billion reported. We don't know about this. Richard Teng coming out, who's obviously now the CEO of Binance. The last 24 hours have been turbulent for the cryptocurrency markets, and I know many of you faced challenges on our platform. I'm truly sorry to everyone who was impacted. This is the exchange's fault. 100%. This would not happen in traditional markets. We don't make excuses. We listen closely, learn from what happened, and are committed to doing better. If you're experiencing any unresolved issues, please reach out to our Binance support team. Every case will be handled with the care and attention it deserves, and compensation will be provided where applicable. Volatility is part of the markets, not that kind of volatility. In the space of the 60% pullbacks, we have them over a period of time. You know, we've just lived through some of them in the recent histories with altcoins. But it's happened over weeks and months. For this to happen, for a 60% candle in less than an hour, that shows a very immature market that isn't being made properly. Who makes the market right now? The crypto exchanges. They are directly to blame for this. And I don't feel sorry for the leverage traders. We tell people every day, don't be a ding-dong. And people are still ding-dongs, and they've lost all their money as a result of it. Do you know, this is the jungle. This is life. Learn the lesson. You don't think I've been liquidated many times? We haven't in a long time, because we learn from our mistakes. But this is why. Anyway, he goes on to say, volatility is part of the markets, and we encourage all users to stay informed and take care during these times. Thanks for sticking with us. Wow. Not sure what to say about that, really. Also, we saw DeFi. It's not just crypto. DeFi, if you think about these borrowing and lending protocols, like everyone's talking about crypto being used for collateral in the future, certainly Bitcoin, which is probably arguably the only one that can be. They also really suffered. So today, Aave experienced the largest stress test of its $75 billion lending infrastructure. The protocol operated flawlessly, automatically liquidating a record 180 million worth of collateral in just 1 hour without any human intervention. Once again, Aave has proven its resilience. I love that. We're going to get Aave on, by the way, to talk to us about this event, hopefully, or some of the borrowing and lending platforms to see how they coped, because it's relevant. And they probably handled it better than the exchanges. But you'd have had forced selling across the board. I have to admit, and I'm going to trigger some people when I say this, when I look at the crypto charts, when I look at Bitcoin, it really doesn't look too bad. You're just where you were a week ago, literally. The question is what damage has this done to the reputation of crypto, and how does that now affect the price? The altcoin market, some of my favorite coins like HBAR, I have to honestly question and say, what the actual F? This was an hourly candle, guys. For HBAR. In 1 hour, it sold off by nearly 60%. I hold HBAR. I'm not here saying, oh, woe me, because probably the damage is now substantially less. We're not even 20% down from where we were. But there's something seriously wrong, and exchanges are 100% to blame for this. So are people promoting leverage trading. This is what happens, guys. Luckily, you guys, hopefully none of you would have been caught on the leverage side of this, because we do say every single day, don't leverage trade. A lot of people would have. It's kind of, you play with fire, you get burnt. But I think there's some broader questions and issues that need to be addressed here in regards to the cryptocurrency markets, and hopefully learnt by. And guess what? What effectively this says to the outer world, and certainly the traditional financial world, is you guys can't handle you can't handle crypto. Let us take over from here. So well done. I'm sure there's some shenanigans in all of this that we're yet to find out about. There's lots of claims of people opening shorts just before, so on and so forth. There are obviously people that are privy to information. Insiders exist, of course. And people always say, oh, how could they do that? Let me ask you guys a question. And answer it. You don't need to. I don't want anyone to answer it out loud publicly, but I'm just going to leave this with you, because we're all hypocrites. And there's that great proverb of Jesus and the adulterer, where he brings the adulterer before him, and they say, this woman has to be punished. And he says, okay, all right, let's all meet up. Everybody bring their stones. Make sure they're big stones. And he gets them all round, and the adulterer's in the middle, and he goes, okay, it's time, let's rock and roll. So let the first one amongst you that's never thrown any sin, which is what you're accusing this woman of doing, throw a stone. And nobody threw a stone. We're all hypocrites. But let me ask you a question. If you knew that something was going to happen, I'm not going to tell you what I would do, but let's say you knew something was going to happen that was going to cause the markets to sell off, would you take advantage of that? Everybody points fingers. I've seen, it's pathetic what I see on X. I see one of two things. Either people going into hiding, or people really trying to overcompensate for all of this. I'm just here to tell you, this is crypto. This is how it goes. We know why it's happened. Now we need to address, where do we go moving forwards as an industry. I love this industry. I'm going to fight for it. And part of me fighting for it is addressing some of the problems that there are with it. And exchanges have royally screwed everybody over here and tarnish the entire industry, because people cannot, from an investment point of view, take this seriously when you have altcoins that are going to change the world, on the course to do that still sell off by 60% in under an hour due to unstructured exchanges. You've just told TradFi to come in and take it over now, because they now seem the responsible ones. I'm pretty mad about this, actually, to be honest. And maybe we should reach out to some exchanges and get them on and see what they have to say for themselves. If anybody wants us to do that, let us know. We will start making some inquiries. Let's talk a little bit about the week ahead, because life goes on. I think one question before we do that is, The main worry that people should be thinking about is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and it continuing to play out. Now, I've said I think this time could be different, but there's always a danger in that. The 4-year cycle would have us topping out now, essentially. And is this the start of that? A question I actually don't have the answers for. I still do believe that the stock market is in a new bull market and going to continue going up. I don't think we've topped out now, but there is this ominous... We've had this event, people are going to be looking, going, hang on, well, the 4-year cycle's in and about to top, so surely we should be paying attention. And I think that is the case. We'll do a longer video on that. We just want to get things out of the way. But the show must go on, guys. I am still bullish on the crypto space. I think the totals are still on the cusp of breaking into price discovery. Everything we're looking at technically is more bullish than bearish, despite this. Again, I'm worried about the infrastructure of the market. Exchanges have failed here in many regards. Anyway, Monday we've got Chinese trade data. Bit of a sensitive subject at the moment. We've got UK employment rates. We've got German ZEW index. We've got Chinese CPI. We've got US CPI. That's going to be an interesting one. We've still got government shutdowns, by the way. That's supposed to rise slightly. Thursday we've got Australian employment, UK GDP. Not expecting much there, are we? US retail sales and US EI crude oil. And Friday we've got nothing. Troops, that's it from me. I'm going to love and leave you all. Hang in there. This is crypto. Nobody said this was going to be easy. This is part of it, but we'll get through it as a community. I'm going to love and leave you all. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.